You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for joining us this Tuesday. I'm Ann Makovic, and here's a look at some of our news headlines this morning. The investigation into a graffiti gang in San Jose has led to a haul of evidence and 2 more arrests. Police recovered spray paint, graffiti tools, and a firearm after searching the homes of the suspects. Investigators say they are tied to a man known as Goob, who's suspected of tagging about 100 properties. He was arrested in April. Police say now that they have tied Goob to these 2 suspects. They say Sebastian Rodriguez of Los Banos was known as Staple, and Brandon Areola of San Jose was known as Too Late. They both face felony vandalism charges. Israel has launched a strike on a Hamas leader in Qatar. You can see the black smoke rising in this video in Doha. This comes just hours after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu urged Palestinians to evacuate all of Gaza City ahead of a new military push. Qatar condemned that strike, calling it cowardly, and said that it will not tolerate this reckless behavior. No word yet on any injuries nor deaths. We are learning more about a crash in Napa County that killed 6 people. The driver now facing murder charges. The CHP says Noberto Serlino was drunk when he crashed a minivan into a tree on Pope Valley Road Sunday evening. The Chronicle reporting that he had had 2 prior DUI convictions out of San Joaquin County and was driving with a suspended license. 1 other person survived the crash. The coroner is still working to ID the victims. 6 people displaced after a house fire in Daly City. That broke out just before 1 a.m. on Hanover Street. This is video from Citizen app. Everyone evacuated before crews arrived and nobody was injured. Fire crews found the cause was accidental. The Supreme Court clearing the way for immigration raids in Los Angeles to continue. That's after a temporary restraining order following a lawsuit over racial profiling. Lower courts found that ICE agents likely had not established the required reasonable suspicion to justify roving stops in the city, but the Supreme Court disagreed. LA Mayor Karen Bass says this will lead to more unconstitutional profiling. And in a statement, Governor Newsom said every person is now a target. Homeland Security officials call the ruling a win for the safety of Californians and the rule of law.
ICE agents aren't racially profiling. The law says you've got to establish reasonable suspicion to detain and question somebody. And I think the men and women, ICE and Border Patrol, are doing exactly that. And I think the Supreme Court disagreed with us.
In Chicago, the Trump administration has launched Operation Midway Blitz to round up suspected illegal immigrants. The administration says it is targeting public safety and national security threats. State and city leaders say there was no advance notice from the federal government. Apple's biggest announcement of the year is just getting underway. The tech giant expected to reveal the latest iPhone, Apple Watch, and AirPods at its annual hardware event in Cupertino. The company is reportedly launching a new, slimmer iPhone 17 model in hopes of increasing sales. Some analysts also predict Apple could raise phone prices because of tariffs. All right, let's take a check on our first alert weather because a little drizzle and cloudy skies, plus a chance of some thunderstorms today. This is how things looked at the Embarcadero Center in San Francisco this morning. Meteorologist Jessica Birch has a look at what we're facing.
Well, it's been cool and cloudy for us the past couple days here in the Bay Area, and we're continuing to see that similar trend throughout this afternoon with daytime highs well below average throughout our inland spots throughout this afternoon. I mean, we're talking about 70s in places like Antioch. It's 70s along the coast in San Francisco. So right now that temperature spread throughout all the Bay Area's microclimates, it's not really that noticeable. You head up into the North Bay, I mean, gosh, we're talking about low 70s anywhere from Napa over the hills into Sonoma, up into Santa Rosa. So nice and mild for us today with cloudy skies, some light drizzle. That drizzle will accumulate close to about 1/10 of an inch of rain throughout the Bay Area, so nothing crazy to write home about. But the reason why we're even dealing with this is because low pressure has been moving its way in. This little center of low pressure is just north of us, closer to places like Eureka and Redding, California. But what it's doing for us here locally, it's giving us these leftover showers. It's also bringing in some more clouds, higher relative humidity, and cooler temperatures. So all of this together, all those key ingredients actually help battle fire weather conditions. So that's not the issue for us this week. If anything, we're just concerned about some light chances of afternoon thunderstorms that we'll see into our Wednesday and Thursday forecast before it slowly starts to dry up and warm up into this weekend. And speaking of that dry up and warm up, let's start off with our inland areas. I mean, we've been dealing with 70s all week long, but we're slowly getting back into the 80s by Thursday and Friday with sunnier skies. Suddenly we're talking about 80s turning into 90s into next week with warm conditions to kick off next work week and school week. And at the same time, you head over into the Bay. Bay, we're going to notice that influence too. Nice and mild for now, gradually warming up into the weekend, and then by next week we are right back to above average temperatures, with places like San Francisco potentially hitting the mid to upper 70s right around the corner. Back to you.
Bay Area transit systems facing deep service cuts without a $750 million state loan, and now leaders in Sacramento have just hours left to finalize a deal. The deadline to lock in loan terms is midnight tonight, ahead of a critical vote on Friday. Our Veronica Macias reports from the Daly City BART station.
Money for this loan was actually promised in June, and it was cemented into the budget. So local leaders right now in disbelief over how the terms of the loan have still not been negotiated. People in the Bay Area, though, definitely have one thing clear, is that people rely on public transportation and need it to get around. Hundreds of people rallying in San Francisco to voice support for this lifeline loan. BART is staring down a $375 million deficit, SFMTA $320 million, AC Transit $238 million, all bleeding ridership and revenue. It's fair to say the system right now is crumbling. This loan would be a stopgap until a regional sales tax measure for the transit area is placed on the ballot next year in 2026, but that all depends on voter approval. According to SFMTA, more than a third of people don't own a car in the Bay Area, and they rely on public transportation.
If we don't have Muni, if we don't have BART, if we don't have regional transportation in AC Transit and Caltrain, it's going to be a huge failing for the regional economy. We're not going to be able to recover from the pandemic. Downtown is not going to recover in San Francisco if employers can't depend on workers getting to their jobs via transit.
We need to get from here to early 2027. We need this bridge loan. And I know that we are in a tough, I chair the budget committee. I know firsthand the difficulties that California faces right now in terms of our budget. But we can do this loan.
Meanwhile, the governor has responded, issuing a statement saying, quote, "We are working closely with all stakeholders on the parameters of funding a deal. Our shared goal is to agree on the terms of the deal by this fall." It was just at the end of last week that we talked to so many frustrated riders with BART after that system-wide shutdown. Super commuters telling us just how much they depend on public transportation. The mayor was also at yesterday's rally, Mayor Lurie, saying that he's been in hourly communication with the governor's office.
State Senator Scott Wiener says if the loan is not passed, BART will basically collapse, and Muni might have to cut service by 50%. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area. After a deadly weekend in Oakland, we are hearing firsthand how the violence has left one local family with an unbearable loss.
Life goes on, and everybody's gonna move on, and we're still gonna be stuck in this pain.
Plus, the race for California's top job is heating up. The issues they are focused on as they make their case to be our next governor.
Heading into the next couple days, we have some unsettled weather in the forecast. What does that mean? Well, we can see some light drizzle in the forecast, a chance for afternoon thunderstorms in the forecast too by about 15%. And that'll start to clear up as we head into our Thursday and Friday forecast as high pressure rolls in and we slowly start to warm up. 70s quickly turn into 80s throughout our inland areas. And then by next Monday, we're back into the 90s with sunnier skies. That warm up is going to be noticeable in the Bay too, just a little bit more gradual. So low 70s for now. We'll slowly turn into upper 70s by Sunday. Still cloudy skies into next week.
A 23-year-old woman said she was sexually assaulted after an Uber driver dropped her off at a random gas station in Sacramento. Her attorney said she left a concert drunk and threw up in the car on her way home to Rosemont. They say that the driver dropped her off miles from her home. Then she was approached by strangers and sexually assaulted at knife point. The woman has now filed a lawsuit against Uber, claiming the driver should have dropped her off at home. Uber sent us this statement saying, quote, "What this individual experienced is heartbreaking and our thoughts are with them. While we cannot comment on pending litigation, we are committed to the safety and well-being of everyone who uses the Uber platform." The House Oversight Committee has released hundreds more pages of records from the estate of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. They include a message to Epstein, allegedly signed by President Trump, which the president has denied writing. The signature Donald appears at the bottom of the message to Jeffrey Epstein, referencing a wonderful secret within a scrawled outline of a naked female form. A bipartisan effort is pushing the Trump administration for more records and more transparency surrounding the Epstein case files, also included in the records released by the Epstein estate, a birthday message to Epstein, apparently from former President Bill Clinton, written in 2003. Police in Oakland investigating a violent weekend that left 2 people dead and 4 others injured. The 4 shootings happened within a 2-hour period early Saturday between 19th Street, Broadway, MLK Jr. Way, and San Pablo Avenue. So far, police have not made any arrests. Now, a Pittsburgh family is in mourning for their son. Micah Esquivel was out getting food in Oakland when he was hit by a bullet. He later died at the hospital. Amanda Harry talked to his parents about his life and their hope for his future.
I'm not okay. I'm never going to be okay. I'm never going to be okay again.
Tina Estrella is still coming to terms with the fact that her son is never coming home.
Life goes on, and everybody's gonna move on, and we're still gonna be stuck in this pain.
Estrella's son, Micah Esquivel, was 28 years old, a well-known and loved manager at Stizzy, a cannabis store in San Francisco. Esquivel had recently moved to Oakland.
He loved being out there in Oakland, living his life. He just enjoyed life.
Estrella says Esquivel had a good heart and was a friend to everyone. She clung to a photo of her son, one he had taken in the last few weeks.
He was going out in the neighborhood, and he wanted to show his out, or we asked to see what he was wearing that night, and he sent us this. This was a few weeks ago. Yeah, he loved to dress.
That's what he was doing this past weekend, when he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. His father, John Esquivel, says the shooting happened just blocks from his son's apartment at the intersection of 17th Street and San Pablo Avenue.
He's just going from point A to point B like it's normal routine. Just decide to stop and get an empanada, and that's it.
It was one of a series of shootings that happened throughout the city in the early hours of September 6th. Another person died and 4 others were injured. Oakland police say the shootings were connected to multiple armed groups that were in a shootout. Esquivel was taken to the hospital after the shooting. His father says he didn't know what happened for hours.
We didn't find out till 9 o'clock, so he died alone in the hospital.
Police haven't given his family much information about what happened or who's responsible. His friend, Patty Juarez, reached out to the Alameda County District Attorney's Office and Oakland Police, begging them to do something.
The mayor of Oakland, please solve my friend's murder. This is my best friend that we lost. He just wanted to get food. He was such a kind soul.
Estrella can't decide what she'll miss most about her son.
Just how much he loved me. Everything, I'm gonna miss everything.
And she's going to continue to fight for answers for the rest of her life.
I just want somebody to pay for this, for taking him from us. He didn't deserve that. He was such a good person.
The coroner's office has not yet officially identified the victims. This weekend, Mayor Barbara Lee addressed the violence.
We have to make sure that people are safe, feel safe, and continue with our crime-fighting efforts. And so we have to do that. We don't sweep our difficulties and challenges under the rug.
Oakland's police union released a statement saying the shootings happened in the aftermath of the First Friday celebrations downtown, but that ended hours before the first shots were fired, and investigators have not directly connected the shootings to that event. First Friday officials also responded to the violence in a statement. They said in part, the incidents happened hours after the event ended, and the city of Oakland needs to have better strategies for managing growing nightlife crowds. The city of San Francisco launched a new gun safety program meant to provide families with safe firearm storage options during custody disputes. neighbors can surrender their firearms at any of the city's police stations where they will be stored for up to a year at no cost. The program is called Pierce's Pledge, named after a 9-year-old boy who was killed by his father in a murder-suicide in 2021 during the child's custody dispute. His mother spoke yesterday about her hopes for this program.
Pierce's life was breathtakingly short, only 9 years. But with the help of so many of you, we're building a legacy in his name, a legacy that protects others from senseless gun violence, and a legacy that will save the life of another child.
Pierce's Pledge works with lawyers, mediators, custody partners, and judges. The SFPD says that the program is the first of its kind in the nation. The race for California's next leader is heating up. We got the chance to hear from some of the candidates looking to be the next governor in a forum yesterday at Sacramento State. Steve Large has more on the key ideas discussed for California's future.
Voters approved a 2008 proposition to build the country's first high-speed rail in California.
CBS California Investigates correspondent Julie Watts kicked off questions about the future of high-speed rail to Republican candidate Leo Zaki.
No, I do not think that we should continue to fund this bullet train to nowhere.
Republicans, Democrats,
and we have to build in the great state of California.
And Green Party candidates.
So the first thing that we need to do is to hold corporations accountable.
All taking center stage at Sac State, delivering their platforms for gubernatorial policy to voters, including students in the crowd concerned with their future.
Will I be able to survive? Will there be housing for me? Will there be job opportunities where I could sustain a healthy way of lifestyle and to support my family members in the future?
So I always think about the future and the main concerns that we are seeing now, such as housing, where am I going to go?
A recent UC Berkeley Institute of Government Studies survey found that when asked what are the issues of greatest concern in this race, 36% said cost of living, 25% said housing affordability, 18% said homelessness, and 18% said the state of our democracy.
I was blown away by the different points of view that were expressed.
For business owner Harris Liu, the forum gave him a better sense of the candidates on the ballot. With more than a year to decide, he's keeping his options open. Do you make a decision at all?
Not yet. I'm still undecided.
These candidates for California governor building their case for your vote at the ballot box.
7 of the 11 candidates were in attendance. Each of them were given 8 minutes to answer a single question and then talk about their priorities. Redistricting was not discussed and no talk about the Trump administration. The focus was more on affordability and the economy. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area, the 49ers have a new hero after their season opening win. Jake Tongas grew up right here in the Bay Area. We're going to meet his high school coach who says the signs were all there back in Los Gatos.
No one envisioned this, but we're also not shocked because we know the person. You know, we know the hard work ethic and we know the perseverance and the intelligence.
We had some heavy drizzle this morning in San Francisco, and we'll see on and off rain in the forecast for us as we head into the next couple days, and another chance of some afternoon thunderstorm activity too. Only a 15% chance right now into the afternoon hours today and tomorrow, but it is worth noting, I mean, you look at Futurecast all the way into Thursday, we're still seeing a similar weather pattern. That will slowly start to diminish though as we head into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. One thing I do want to mention as we head into those days, temperatures start to rise, and we're going to see sunnier skies right around the corner, especially in our inland spots. Now, from the Tuesday to Wednesday forecast today and tomorrow, we're really not seeing too much of a change. But once we head into this weekend and early next week, that's when high pressure builds in. It warms us up, it dries us up here in the Bay Area, and you're definitely going to notice it closer to East Bay areas, the South Bay, where we jumped from the 70s now to the 90s within the next 7 days, and sunnier skies are expected right around the corner too. It's going to be a beautiful setup for us as we head into this weekend, beautiful as we head into next week. A lot warmer though, and we'll keep you updated on that here in the Weather Center.
The 49ers escaped Seattle with a win in their season opener on Sunday, but it did come at a cost. Quarterback Brock Purdy injured his shoulder and his toe. Might not be able to play this weekend against the Saints. And an even bigger worry, tight end George Kittle is going to be out for several weeks now after hurting his hamstring early in the game. But one silver lining, the man who stepped in for Kittle had the game of his life. Backup tight end Jake Tonjes caught the first 3 passes of his pro career. That included the game-winning touchdown with just a minute and a half left in the game. It was an extra special moment for Tonjes, who played at UC Berkeley and grew up in Los Gatos. Our Kevin Coe spoke with his high school coach, who says that catch was years in the making.
Purdy keeping her alive. Brock Purdy lofts one. It is Tonjes.
This is how many football fans heard his name for the first time.
Jake Tonjes.
But here at Los Gatos High School,
This is where it started for him, you know, his 4 years here at Los Gatos.
head football coach Mark Crail knows this game-winning catch started with humble beginnings.
He is in this picture here, right in the middle, top row, number 10.
This is when Jake Tonjes switched from quarterback to tight end, a decision Crail and his staff felt was the right call, which, to say the least, looks like it worked out week 1 against the Seahawks.
I got to be honest, no one envisioned this, but we're also not shocked because we know the person. You know, we know the hard work ethic, and we know the perseverance and the intelligence.
From switching positions in high school to walking on at Cal, then playing for practice squads, including the Niners. A decade of trying again and again led to the catch heard round the Pacific Northwest on Sunday.
Team captain, all that stuff, and yet he wasn't arrogant or cocky. He was very confident, you know, and he knew that he could play. But there was a humility to him too that was refreshing, and I think we all saw that on TV.
I went up, I caught it, looked down at my feet, make sure I was in bounds, and kind of looked around for some flags, and it was silent, you know, because we're on the road. I think Russell Gage, someone was like, you scored, and didn't believe it, and then I was, spiked the ball, go celebrate with all my guys.
Were you definitely throwing that for Jake all along? Wasn't throwing away or anything?
Yeah. No, I knew Tonjes was going to come down to it.
We had a lot of trust in Jake, you know, and we knew that he was going to come down with those 50-50 balls, a lot more than 50-50. Kind of funny, right after the game, I sent him a text that just, congratulations, I'm sure your phone's blowing up. And I had no idea that he was going to, I didn't think he would respond. You know, I thought he'd be swamped, and hour later, thanks, coach, you know, that kind of thing. So that's Jake. That's Jake. He's just Jake to us, you know, and we love him.
Coach Crail says that Tonjes often visits during Los Gatos high school football games and also trains in the off-season at their field. He says maybe the game will have the 49ers coaching staff consider some 2 tight end sets once Kittle returns in a few weeks. The Golden State Valkyries back in action tonight, and they have only 2 more regular season games before the playoffs. The team playing on the road, taking on the Seattle Storm. Golden State then heads to Minnesota on Thursday to close the regular season. The Valkyries currently hold the number 6 seed. Their journey continues in the playoffs next week. They're going to play at SAP Center in San Jose, home of the Sharks. And you can watch the Valkyries taking on the Seattle Storm tonight on Pix Plus, 44 Cable 12, pre-game coverage starting at 6:30. Coming up in our next half hour here on CBS News Bay Area, 6 people killed after a crowded minivan veered into a tree on a rural road. What we're learning about the investigation and why the driver could face murder charges.
Don't do it because you're not going to win, the road is going to win, you know, and you're going to lose.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for being with us today. I'm Ann Makovic, and here's another look at our news headlines. The investigation into a graffiti gang in San Jose has led to a haul of evidence and 2 more arrests. Police recovered spray paint, graffiti tools, and a firearm after searching the homes of the suspects. Investigators identified them as Sebastian Rodriguez, known as Staple, and Brandon Areola, known as Too Late. Investigators say they are tied to a man known as Goob, who's suspected of tagging about 100 properties. He was arrested in April. 6 people displaced after a house fire in Daly City. This one broke out just before 1 a.m. on Hanover Street. This is video from Citizen app. Everyone evacuated before crews arrived, and nobody was injured. Fire crews found the cause was accidental. The Supreme Court has cleared the way for immigration raids in Los Angeles to continue. That is after a temporary restraining order following a lawsuit over racial profiling. Lower courts found that ICE agents likely had not established the required reasonable suspicion to justify roving stops in the city, but the Supreme Court disagreed. LA Mayor Karen Bass says this is going to lead to more unconstitutional profiling. In a statement, Governor Newsom said every person is now a target. Homeland Security officials called the ruling a win for the safety of Californians and the rule of law. All right, let's get another check on our first alert weather forecast now with meteorologist Jessica Birch.
Well, it's been cool and cloudy for us the past couple days here in the Bay Area, and we're continuing to see that similar trend throughout this afternoon with daytime highs well below average throughout our inland spots throughout this afternoon. I mean, we're talking about 70s in places like Antioch. It's 70s along the coast in San Francisco. So right now that temperature spread throughout all the Bay Area's microclimates, it's not really that noticeable. You head up into the North Bay, I mean, gosh, we're talking about low 70s anywhere from Napa over the hills into Sonoma, up into Santa Rosa. So nice and mild for us today with cloudy skies, some light drizzle. That drizzle will accumulate close to about 1/10 of an inch of rain throughout the Bay Area, so nothing crazy to write home about. But the reason why we're even dealing with this is because low pressure has been moving its way in. This little center of low pressure is just north of us, closer to places like Eureka and Redding, California. But what it's doing for us here locally, it's giving us these leftover showers. It's also bringing in some more clouds, higher relative humidity, and cooler temperatures. So all of this together, all those key ingredients actually help battle fire weather conditions. So that's not the issue for us this week. If anything, we're just concerned about some light chances of afternoon thunderstorms that we'll see into our Wednesday and Thursday forecast before it slowly starts to dry up and warm up into this weekend. And speaking of that dry up and warm up, let's start off with our inland areas. I mean, we've been dealing with 70s all week long, but we're slowly getting back into the 80s by Thursday and Friday with sunnier skies. Suddenly we're talking about 80s turning into 90s into next week with warm conditions to kick off next work week and school week. And at the same time, you head over into the Bay, we're going to notice that influence too. Nice and mild for now, gradually warming up into the weekend. And then by next week, we are right back to above average temperatures with places like San Francisco potentially hitting the mid to upper 70s right around the corner. Back to you.
After a suspected DUI crash left 6 people dead on a rural Napa County road, the driver has been arrested on suspicion of murder. The crash happened just before 6 p.m. Sunday evening. 8 people were packed into a minivan that veered off the road and slammed into a tree. Only 2 people survived, including the driver. This was in Pope Valley, a tiny unincorporated community about 7 miles north of St. Helena. A minivan had been traveling along Pope Valley Road when it crashed near Pope Valley Union Elementary School. So far, only the driver has been identified, and while he is one of the only survivors, our John Ramos explains why the CHP says the life he knew may be over.
The narrow rural roads in northern Napa County can be treacherous under any circumstances, but add alcohol to the mix and you have the makings of a real tragedy. The winding roads in the hills above Napa Valley demand careful focus at all times, but this stretch of the road is straight. So why, on Sunday night, did a van full of people slam head-on into this tree?
We're still trying to figure out what happened. What we know so far is just before 6 o'clock last night, our Napa area office received a call of a solo vehicle off the roadway on Pope Valley Road. Napa County Sheriff's deputies were the first to arrive on scene. They found a Toyota Sienna minivan that had gone off the road and collided with the tree. Tragically, 6 individuals were pronounced deceased on scene. 2 other individuals were transported to a local hospital for treatment.
It was one of the deadliest single-vehicle accidents in Napa's history, but the CHP believes they know the reason for it. The driver, a 53-year-old Stockton man identified as Norberto Serralino, was determined by officers at the hospital to be under the influence of alcohol.
The fact that 6 people were killed in this crash is a horrible tragedy, but it's made even worse by the fact that this was caused by an individual who chose to drive while under the influence of alcohol.
As a result, Serralino has been arrested for murder. The CHP says it cannot talk about people's past records, but there is a provision under law known as Watson murder. When an individual is arrested for a DUI, they are informed about the deadly threat of driving under the influence. If they do it again and someone is killed, it is considered implied malice, making the crime second-degree murder.
We talk about the importance of designating sober drivers, of not driving impaired, And this is the reason why we do that.
But there is still a mystery to be solved. None of the 7 passengers in the minivan were carrying any form of ID, so the coroner's office must now try to determine who they were. Pope Valley is wine country, and some in town speculated that they may have been vineyard workers. Still, James Celadon didn't seem shocked by the deadly crash.
So when the word went out on this, what was the feeling? Again? Another one?
Just a half-mile down the road is another makeshift memorial, this time for a young child who was killed just 3 weeks ago. Despite the circumstances, or maybe because of them, Celadon said Sunday's crash makes the road seem cursed.
So when you hear that the guy may have been driving drunk, what does that tell you? Just don't do it. Don't do it because you're not going to win, the road is going to win, and you're going to lose.
Under the law, people charged with DUI murder face a possible punishment of 15 years to life and a $10,000 fine for each count. And they are not eligible for probation.
The driver is recovering in the hospital and will be booked into the Napa County jail once he is released. Police in San Jose investigating a deadly hit-and-run crash that killed a woman who was riding an electric scooter. That crash happened downtown in front of the SAP Center near Caltrain's Diridon station. Police say a vehicle hit that woman just after 8 yesterday morning. She was taken to the hospital where she later died from her injuries. Officers say the driver took off before they got there. All this week, CBS News California investigates, continuing to introduce you to the people who want to be our next governor. California correspondent Julie Watts is sitting down with 11 candidates who've officially entered the race so far.
Do you regret keeping schools closed as long as they were?
Well, if we knew then what we know now, we would have known that we could manage COVID with 2 things, a face mask and a rapid COVID test.
Today, Julie sits down with the former head of California Public Schools, Tony Thurmond. She's asking one question with one candidate to give you early insight into who they are and why they want to be our governor.
Tony Thurmond is one of the high-profile Democrats running to replace California Governor Gavin Newsom when he terms out next year. He lives in Richmond and runs California's Department of Education as the superintendent of public schools. He was previously a California Assembly member, and he says he's running for governor because, quote, California is at a critical inflection point that could lead to prosperity for all or a further decline for working Californians.
We sat down with each candidate for an in-depth interview covering all the issues that matter to you. But we began by asking what they think our current governor and legislature did right and what they would have done differently. That's one question with Tony Thurmond.
Governor Newsom is very good at responding to crises, and he is a creative thinker. And it is a fair statement to say that he has led one of the largest investments in public education in California. And for that, I'm grateful, and I'm grateful for his partnership. There's one thing that I think he could do more of and that I intend to do differently as governor. And as you look at the number of disaster responses that we have, I think it's important for us to put more pressure on the insurance companies to come through for Californians. So many of the companies have said, oops, sorry, we can't insure you anymore at our moment of crisis. And so I think that the governor has to put pressure on those companies.
Along the same lines, over the last couple of years, what's one thing that you think the legislature got right and one thing that you think was a misstep that you as governor could have prevented?
Well, when I served in the legislature and there were surpluses, I was encouraging the legislature to invest $1 billion in affordable housing right off the top. Legislators are always thinking about all the different projects that they want to support in their district, and that's great. But it didn't really coalesce into a formal approach for building more housing. We need to have more housing units in the state. I think that's where we have to put our greatest emphasis because the American dream is slipping away from Californians and their ability to own a home.
Julie moderated the California Governors Forum yesterday, hosted by APAPA and Sacramento State. You can watch that full live stream on our website, kpix.com, and on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/CBSSF. Coming up next here on CBS News Bay Area, a seismic discovery that appears to be right under an East Bay elementary school. We're going to talk to scientists about a newly uncovered branch of a major fault and what it could mean for our region.
Yes, it's close to the school grounds. And the question becomes, has the creep done anything inside of the school?
into the next couple days, we have some unsettled weather in the forecast. What does that mean? Well, we can see some light drizzle in the forecast, a chance for afternoon thunderstorms in the forecast too by about 15%. And that'll start to clear up as we head into our Thursday and Friday forecast as high pressure rolls in and we slowly start to warm up. 70s quickly turn into 80s throughout our inland areas. And then by next Monday, we're back into the 90s with sunnier skies. That warm up is going to be noticeable in the Bay too, just a little bit more gradual. So low 70s for now. We'll slowly turn into upper 70s by Sunday. Still cloudy skies into next week.
Well, if you lived here back in 2020, this is impossible to forget. Today marks 5 years since the Bay Area skies turned an ominous-looking orange. Wildfires burning in Colorado, Oregon, Washington, and here in California filled the air with smoke and soot. The thick haze from those fires made daytime look like night, creating an eerie glow. 5 years. A surprising discovery under the earth in Contra Costa County might have some big implications. The Concord Fault may have a parallel twin. The new branch runs for several miles right under town, appearing to split a school campus right in half. Brian Hackney spoke with experts about the fault's so-called creep.
It's amazing. Look at how much this offset is.
Yeah, but this is small in comparison to what we'll see after the fault moves and makes its next earthquake.
David Schwartz, earthquake geologist emeritus.
And you might ask, well, what happens to the movement along the plates?
Well, I was always interested in science. My grandfather used to always take me to the American Museum of Natural History. They just had the rocks and the fossils and the maps. And I took an earth science class and a fabulous teacher. I said, that's it. This is it for me. I was good at it. I still am. Sure, that's this place too.
David spent 33 years with the USGS in the Bay Area.
Concord Fault, potentially dangerous fault?
Yes. San Andreas, the Hayward, the Rogers Creek, the Concord. They're all part of this broad zone that's allowing the plates to slip past each other.
This is slip. And this is slip.
There's a series of fractures that extend out across the asphalt. I think this is a very nice example of creep.
It's all evidence of the newly discovered branch of the Concord Fault, a strand of 4 miles running from Arbolado Park in the south, almost to Bart's Concord Maintenance Yard in the north.
This goes right through houses and buildings?
Yeah.
And this new trace is 1,300 feet west of where the old trace was mapped decades ago.
This is a map of that newly identified Concord Fault trace.
Curtis Bodden is among the new generation of USGS geologists.
If we look back in this direction.
And he's looked over this new study that discovered creep on the fault in this new location.
So this curb is deflected to the right, and we even see some spring activity, and there's some that think this is a spring that originates along the Concord Fault.
All of this is evidence that the Earth is moving on both this old and the new traces of the fault, about 3 millimeters a year, taking everything on top of it with it.
We didn't know that this fault existed in this location.
Neither did residents who hadn't heard about the old Concord Fault trace.
So you didn't know the Concord Fault was in your side yard?
No idea. Or the new one.
You never heard about this? I never heard about it.
It also came as news to Valley Verde Elementary School in Walnut Creek, home to nearly 500 K to 5th grade students on campus, and now possibly home to the Concord Fault.
So this yellow line is the newly mapped, actively creeping strand of the Concord Fault.
Looks like it goes right through the school property.
It does.
To make this clear, here's a map of the Bay Area. We'll push into part of the Concord Fault in Walnut Creek. The new remap shows the trace to the north of the school ground, and to the south, we're going to stand here on Citrus Avenue.
It looks like the sidewalk in general, all through here, has been distorted.
This is 500 feet south of the school grounds.
Sure, that's displaced too.
Conclusion?
I would say that this is a trace of the Concord Fault.
Connecting the creep on the south with that on the north could put the new Concord Fault trace right through the school property.
Yes, it's close to the school grounds. And the question becomes, has the creep done anything inside of the school? Are there any records of damage, of things breaking that shouldn't break? You know, those are things I would look for.
Those questions await an investigation by the state geologist Jeremy Lancaster.
A site-specific investigation done by a qualified geotechnical professional is going to be needed to really pin down the precise location of that fault, if there is, in fact, a fault on the campus.
And if there is, it could be a shock in more ways than one.
How big a quake is the Concord Fault capable of springing?
We estimate that the Concord Fault is capable of about a magnitude 6.7 earthquake.
That's a big quake.
That is a big quake.
And it leads to an obvious question.
What are the chances one day there actually being an earthquake here in Concord?
Yeah, that's why we've got Curtis.
We give the Concord Fault a 3 to 4% probability of having a 6.7 magnitude earthquake or greater in the next 30 years.
But nobody here wants that inevitable quake to be the first time people realize they're living on top of the Concord Fault.
The message is to prepare. You know, we say it all the time, prepare. But the information is there to allow you to do something ahead of time to make yourself, your house, your family safer.
The state geologists will take until next summer to update their own seismic hazard maps showing this new trace of the Concord Fault. Then the school can make a better assessment of the potential risk. Coming up here on CBS News Bay Area, it is never too late to check something off your bucket list. Well, we're going to take you behind the scenes and look at a popular soap opera where I got to play a cameo role.
Oh, thank you so much.
We had some heavy drizzle this morning in San Francisco, and we'll see on and off rain in the forecast for us as we head into the next couple days, and another chance of some afternoon thunderstorm activity too. Only a 15% chance right now into the afternoon hours today and tomorrow, but it is worth noting, I mean, you look at Futurecast all the way into Thursday, we're still seeing a similar weather pattern. That will slowly start to diminish though as we head into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. One thing I do want to mention as we head into those days, temperatures start to rise, and we're going to see sunnier skies right around the corner, especially in our inland spots. Now, from the Tuesday to Wednesday forecast today and tomorrow, we're really not seeing too much of a change. But once we head into this weekend and early next week, that's when high pressure builds in. It warms us up, it dries us up here in the Bay Area, and you're definitely going to notice it closer to East Bay areas, the South Bay, where we jumped from the 70s now to the 90s within the next 7 days, and sunnier skies are expected right around the corner too. It's going to be a beautiful setup for us as we head into this weekend, beautiful as we head into next week. A lot warmer though, and we'll keep you updated on that here in the Weather Center.
Well, do you have something that you've always wanted to do and thought maybe it's too late? Well, our series with CBS Mornings challenges that idea. And today, I'm actually making my acting debut on the CBS soap opera, The Bold and the Beautiful. Can't believe it. This is how it came to be.
People, you have to listen.
I've been quite fascinated by drama since I was very young and quite restless growing up in a small town in Wisconsin.
The main actress. I took my breath away.
As a child, CBS legacy soap operas were part of the daily routine. I'd always been interested in acting, and I considered trying my luck in showbiz. But then,
this fire is now 12% contained.
I found the right mix of drama, shock, and awe in the real world in a different capacity. I'd always kept my interest in soaps, though, even reporting on them from time to time.
I grew up watching Young and the Restless, so.
But a few weeks ago, the folks at the iconic CBS soap opera, The Bold and the Beautiful, called, and I answered.
I actually got a part in The Bold and the Beautiful.
I was Hollywood bound within minutes of arriving at Television City in Los Angeles.
Hi, oh my God.
We run into The Bold and the Beautiful's main heartthrob, Ridge Forrester, played by Torsten Kay. He was very gracious with my entourage, my brother and my mom.
How close is your personality to your characters?
I have one wife. And we've been together for a long time, and I don't dress like this.
Feeling a little bolder, I was off to get beautiful.
Oh my gosh.
When I dress the actors, that I give them a wild card at the end. But with her, I did wild cards for everything.
We picked out 3 different looks, all just outside of my normal comfort zone.
CBS San Francisco.
The producers had loaned me John McCook's dressing room. He plays Eric Forrester, the granddaddy of the clan. Thank you for letting me borrow your room.
It's a great room.
When I told him I'm playing a socialite, he was buying it.
It's one of the things that I've always said. We don't have enough of the Forrester clientele who are glamorous ladies and successful, wealthy people. We don't have those kinds of characters coming in and out.
Here I am.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I can't believe I'm
You guys
in
are going
this
to be right here.
office.
So it's Kelly.
My co-actors, the Logan ladies, were all business.
Quietly, please. Here we go. Action.
Of course, we can't give away too much before the episode airs, but we did catch up with supervising producer Casey Kasperzik after the shoot.
I don't think this is the last we've seen of Anne. I think she might be a recurring character.
Don't give up hope. It is never too late.